Hey guys, Angela Renee here. Thanks for joining me on another video of Angela Renee Chats. And this is my new series called Tea with Ange. And I am so blessed to have my friend Jessica Hartley with me. Jessica is a mom of two beautiful kids and a wife to a fireman. And she is a coach and a motivational speaker. And we are going to talk about an amazing topic that I think all of us struggle with, need to hear about, and need to do more of, and that is loving ourselves. So get ready, put your seatbelts on, let's go. These episodes are going to be at different locations around Southern California, tea shops that are just really cute, really fun, really cozy. And today, we're in Santa Clarita at Bodhi, Leaf, and Tea. And we've got a drink. What do you have, Jess?
I have a cappuccino.
Cappuccino. I don't drink coffee, which is why we call it Tea with Ange. So I have a cherry tea. We're going to take a sip right now and see what we think. Hopefully we don't spill on ourselves. Good. I love it. Okay, so let's get right into it. So like I said, Jessica is a relationship coach. She knows a lot about love and relationship, and a lot of these topics are going to be around the topic of love, but focusing on different people that we love and that we go through life with. So today we're talking about self. So tell me a little bit about how you ended up where you are now as a relationship coach, what your passion, how your passion developed, and how you got to where you are today. Let's start there.
Okay. Simply put, I wasn't raised in a very healthy model of relationship or love. My mom and father divorced when I was 4. My father was alcoholic and abusive. And then I saw my mom, who had to work full-time, a couple of jobs, and we hardly saw her. But when we did, it was like she had to play the mother and the father. And so our relationship was not very good either. Going into adulthood myself, I had a lot of wounds that I really needed to heal and move through. And as I started to step and follow my heart, I was constantly being called to work in psychology. Okay. And so I pursued my degree in spiritual psychology, and which basically means psychology from a soul-centered approach.
Okay.
Yeah, so as if we're not just here as humans trying to manipulate our behavior, but rather we are a soul having a human experience. And there's a reason behind every conflict. There's a reason behind these challenges, and there's growth opportunities for us everywhere. And that we can use all of our life experiences to become the best of ourselves.
Yes.
So I started going to school, I got my degree, and then I started coaching. I had my daughter. The other thing too, I think that was imperative or sort of important for me with that was that knowing as I started studying psychology that we are so influential on our children. We're, as parents, so responsible for good, all the nurturing part of it, you know, like all of the part that they come in with their own personalities and stuff. Some of that stuff we absolutely can't handle. Right. But the other part of it where it's their environment and the nurturing and the safety and the warmth and the love is all on us, you know? And so I really wanted to make sure that I could provide my children with a really good foundation. So that is also, you know, part of what led me into it. And I started actually teaching parenting classes really early on based on that idea. But then I realized that, you know, there's something funny where a parent it's easy for a parent to offer a nurturing environment to their child.
Yes.
And to say, okay, I want to be more conscious about how I bring forward myself, healing my own stuff, and being the best parent that I could be.
Right.
And then there's a difference between doing that with our relationship partners.
Yeah.
You know, so our spouse or the person that we're married to or whoever we're in a relationship with. And so I saw as I was doing that early work that we need more focus in this area with relationship, and that I could be of more use there. So I sort of shifted my focus and started working in the realm of relationship. And
Okay.
it's very, there are concepts that are very, very similar in both. So then I got started in that and just have been going full steam ahead.
Tell us where we can find you. I know we can see you. She has a website, jessicahartley.com.
Yes.
Right? And then on YouTube.
YouTube,
And then on Facebook. And then Facebook, right?
Yeah.
So Facebook, she does a radio show.
I also, I'm on the local Santa Clarita hometown station every Wednesday at 2 p.m.
Okay.
And you could also catch those, if you don't listen to the radio, you can also catch those on Facebook Live.
Perfect.
Or also on, we'll be uploading them to YouTube eventually.
And just share real quickly what it is that you mostly talk about on the radio show.
I talk about relationships. I talk about what it takes to thrive, the conflicts, how to overcome them, all the different aspects of relationships. So I've essentially identified the key 6 elements of a thriving relationship. So I sort of kind of go into all of each of those and talk about those. Yeah.
I love that.
So self-love is where we start every single time. We always start there because in relationship, it's the easiest place to lose who we are.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's the easiest place to get wrapped up in expectation and our insecurities and our fears, and then if our relationship fails, it reinforces more of that negative stuff. So we have a lot that we need to heal and work through so that we can uplift ourselves and have a person that matches who we are now.
Yeah.
Because if we don't do that, then the next person we find is just going to be on the same level that we were before.
Right.
Right. And it's like we have to do the inner work, and if you don't, then expect the same results.
Yeah. So let's go into that inner work a little bit more, because I want to know what your definition really is of self-love and what that looks like, what that should look like in our lives, and how we attain it and maintain it.
It's interesting because when it's something that's kind of thrown around a lot. I think, oh, you have to do self-nurturing, self-love, but then you're like, but how do I do that?
Do I go to yoga?
Do I just like
sit in my room and have a pillow, talk to myself really nicely? I know. So that's what I want to know. What do you do?
It's really about, I think the biggest piece of it is taking ownership for our wounds, noticing where our wounds are and nurturing them and healing them. It's as if you were in some sort of fight with someone and they ripped out a piece here, you've got a scratch here and a scratch here. And if you just keep walking around with your wounds, they're just going to get infected and get worse. Yeah. So the self-love component is to really take the time to go and heal those, patch them, love them, nurture them, And so I really think that it is some of those other things too, really taking the time to have time for self-rejuvenation and do the things that you love in life and build your confidence. But I think that the biggest part of that is to, number one, understand and be able to find where my wounds are, and then their emotional wounds, and then to go in and heal those.
Okay, so how do we go about healing those wounds? Because I'll just share that some of my emotional wounds was that I married somebody who was not a healthy person, and so I constantly gave into this relationship, even after the divorce, just constantly trying to make this work for the sake of my kids and his kids. I really wanted it to work for that reason, so I just kept building wounds on top of wounds and making other wounds larger. And so when I finally had moments where I broke away for a long period of time, I never healed any wounds. I think they just
sat there.
They just sat there, right? So I never really had any way to know how to heal my wounds. I was doing a lot of praying, I was doing a lot of reading books and stuff, but it was like it was bouncing off where I didn't feel like there was any healing happening. So maybe some insight on how any of our listeners, myself, how we can learn how, what does healing look like? What do we need to practice or do to heal?
Yes. So one of the things that I do that I offer to my clients is a deep healing session. And what we do is we just
a deep healing
session. Yes. And it's unique. It's not talk therapy, but we do look at where are the areas that you have the biggest conflict. So if you would just take take note of what those biggest areas of conflict. Here are the areas that I felt the most wounded or triggered by my ex. Okay. And just write those down, or just get aware of where those are, because your pain points, your upset points, are the window to your wounds. You know, it's like that little prick, that little like thorn that you feel.
Yeah.
That's just the prick of something bigger underneath.
Right.
You know, and so if we can identify those pain points, then you know, okay, there's wounds behind that.
Right.
And so, you know, I explore that in my sessions, and we go in, and sometimes I'll just have people list stuff, and then we'll just pick one thing and go dive deep into it, find that wound, and then we do a process to really release it on an emotional level. Here's the thing too, is that when we get the wound, it happens on an emotional level. Right? So it's not a logical wound that happens, it's an emotional wound. So you have, the only way to heal it is back through emotion. So we go back in, we feel the feelings, we go through the emotion, we go in, we change, when we're in that most vulnerable place, we change the perception of what was happening. And we turn it all around.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Like, really. And that's, I think, why I've heard over the years, like, allow yourself to feel the pain.
Yeah.
Just don't stay there, but allow yourself to feel it. So I feel like the don't allow yourself to stay there is probably where you work on changing your perception about the situation.
Yeah, so it's like you want to face it, and because here's what happens if you don't feel the pain, then you're just suppressing, and you know, it's like you're pushing more and more force on something that's there, and you know what happens when you do that? It's like it explodes. You know, and then that creates more damage all around you. So you don't want to suppress it. You need to address it, but the container of the sessions that I do allow you to be expressive and to really feel it and then move through it and then change it in a safe way. Because if we don't have those tools, if we don't have the right kind of environment, then we'll lash out onto other people. You know,
and if we're single parents, it's usually our kids.
Yes. Yes. And then it becomes their wounds.
Yeah.
You know, and it turns into something that they're holding for you. You know, and we expect our partner or our kids to sort of plug the holes of our wounds so that we don't feel the feelings of the pain. You know. And that's our responsibility, really. You know, we cannot give that out. So whenever you notice you're upset, that's your opportunity to really take ownership for that and to heal that. And so that would be like the biggest area that you can do the healing in the self-love after divorce or breakup.
Okay, great. So we talked about healing the wound. So that's kind of like the first step, the wounds and working through healing the wounds.
Yes.
So after that, after you kind of overcome some wounds that have been healed a little bit, is there like a next step or self-love?
Right, yeah. So then I would start walking towards the direction of anything that you would to really step into listening to the heart fully. You know, because your heart will guide you. Your heart will guide you to where you need to be. And let's
go really into that, because in some faiths, we're told not to listen to our heart because our heart will deceive us. So
verse that my mom used to always tell me, which was because I would always go towards, you know, my own direction, and she would give me this Bible verse and it said something about do not lean on your own understanding.
Yeah. It led me to not really be able to make decisions by myself. I was constantly asking other people rather than like sitting and listening to where I was in my own heart and like my own mind, and like I was constantly looking for outside affirmation, confirmation, influence, all that.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say was that I actually took that a different way, because for me it was like the voice of my heart was my own understanding, you know, and so it was as if I was being told not to listen to my heart in that direction. Yeah. And actually, part of my journey is because I was raised with that, and that was my family model. I ended up actually rejecting the Christian religion for a while, and I just went into like a more spiritual route, which was that all religions are good, you know, and that. Well, for a while, actually, before I got there, I was a little bit, you know, still triggered by by religion itself, because I had this different message from what it really was.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I did healing on that too. But one of the things that where I'm at now is just really seeing that, there's so many different perspectives, and a lot of religions. I actually studied religion, and a lot of different religions are saying the same thing. They are beautiful at the core,
Right.
and they are all saying to be a good person, to trust a higher power, and to allow yourself to the golden rule, be,
Treat
what you
treat
would do to others. Yeah, and so I ended up seeing how all of these different religions are this, and so I ended up having a more Unitarian now approach.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that was your question.
Yeah. How do you get your heart maybe to a place where you can trust it? Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, here's the thing about trust, something that I teach too, is that trust only exists in the self. Like I can't put trust in you, because that's like putting my happiness in you. You're now responsible for my happiness. You're now responsible for whether or not I trust life, you, others, and it's like the only person that you can trust is you. You can only trust in your own intuition. You can only trust in your heart and your inner guidance. And we all have this inner guidance. We all have this purity of intention. We all are good at the heart of us, and so it's like you just have to stay grounded in that. And we will be guided by inspiration, through joy, through ideas.
Yeah.
And then we can see, this is something really interesting that I learned, is that your heart actually has a ton of neurons in it as well, just like the brain does.
Yeah.
And so when you actually look at the communication between brain and heart, the heart and the brain are connected. So we're actually meant to use our brain as a tool, not as the governing force of our life. Our thoughts are so powerful.
Yeah,
they're the root of everything.
Absolutely, yeah.
And our heart is the one that guides us, so then it uses the brain to sort of help us navigate through experiences in life.
Yeah, so what I hear in that is that it's important to, what I hear in that is that if our brains and hearts are connected, and our brains and our hearts guide us based on what's going on in our brains a little bit, it tells me that it is important to take care of our mind, to feed our mind, develop our mind. When I say feed, I just mean like take time to be quiet, take time to input, like the input matters. So like social media is not always like the best thing to put in our mind because of the things that we think after we
it's so hard. It's so hard to take note because it's so conditioned as a norm. But so much of the movies, TV, everything that we watch is going into our thoughts.
Yeah.
We're being subconsciously conditioned by this stuff.
Yeah.
Same with our dreams, so it's like all of this stuff is going into our subconscious and into what we're thinking.
Yeah.
And the more it is repeated, the same thing repeated, then it becomes an association. So then we associate it to something.
Yeah.
So if we see a lot of crap TV, then, which shows like a negative view of relationship or a negative view of men or a negative view of women or whatever it is, then it's going to, bit by bit, the more it gets reinforced outside of us, the more it's going to be our view.
Right.
So yes, we have to be so careful. There's lots of shows out there that show poor models of things.
Yeah.
And those are not the things that we should be watching as dumb and entertaining that they are when we're, vegging out or whatever. It's like we can choose things that are much more nurturing for our brain. It is my belief, and I've seen it multiple times, that even in myself, that the diseases that we have are a manifestation of the thoughts that we think. So
How do you say that?
The diseases that we have are a manifestation of the thoughts that we think. So if you think a thought over and over and over, it becomes true. And if it's true over and over, it's your belief system. And so then you are in your world based on that belief system.
Yeah.
You react, you have this lens of the world based on that system. Like, we could be looking at the same thing, but it's the lens that we're looking at it from that matters most. And so when we start losing control of our mind and our thoughts that we're thinking in the mind, that we let our mind take over, of course, then we're going to manifest various diseases. And of course, this can be disputed because, I have friends whose kids were born with cancer, and things like that. And so that's not, that's a whole nother conversation, but I think certain things, at least we could agree that, depression, for example, is a feeling of low worth. That stems from negative thinking about the self and what the self is capable of. And so it's like, I don't even want to get out of bed, or I'm just mad and upset and sad, and why, and so it's like the first thing that we have to do is just move, get out of bed, just get up, even just move to the kitchen, and then the next day move outside and sit outside, and then that will start you in the upward direction. If you stay put, either energetically, physically, mentally, you stay put, you're going downwards. Okay, and so you have control of that. So part of it is to take control of our lives. We can become the authors of our experience. That is our job. Life might give us certain experiences that are like thrown in there, but then we get to shape what happens from that. How I react to what's happening is what matters most. It is what shapes whether I go upwards or I go downwards, and that is all in my own control. It has nothing to do with the stimulus or what other people are doing with the stimulus. It has to do with how I'm doing with the stimulus. Like traffic, for example.
Yeah.
So many people hate traffic, right? But it's like, okay, well, there's a stimulus, and you can either choose to get mad at it, to get frustrated at it, or you can choose to say, what does this give me an opportunity for?
Yes.
You can use the time for things that are important. To your benefit. Yes. And with everything, it's that way. So it's like, you control a majority of what happens, but then also sometimes things come in, and then it's more about how you respond to those things.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. What are some things that people at home can do to begin this process of self-healing, self-loving, and all those kinds of things?
The most powerful thing you could do is start just whatever it is that you think about yourself or your situation. Again, write it down, and then just change it. Change it so that you can write a positive affirmation about that thing. And it doesn't have to be, it should be something believable. And even if it's slightly unbelievable, that's okay too. Here's the thing about the brain. I studied a lot of brain development. Is that when we're forming our associations, most of that happens before we're 7 or 8 years old. Positive or negative association about something, right? And so the only way, so then what happens later on in life after that is just reinforcement of the same thing. We form around 7 or 8, we form our parietal lobe develops, and it forms a critical thinking filter. Okay. And in that filter, what happens, a new idea comes in, and the filter says, does that correlate with stuff I already have here? And if it goes in and checks, and if it says no, negative association with love. Okay, so positive one will get bounced out. Okay, and so then when we see negative, then it'll say, does that correlate? Oh yeah, that doesn't correlate. So then that one will go in and reinforce that association being bigger, stronger. It's the repetition of that affirmation.
Yes,
it's saying it over and over and over and over. And at first, here's the thing, you won't believe it at first. So if you're feeling, like if you're struggling with depression, say the opposite of whatever you're feeling, and you're not going to believe that at first. Of course you won't, because what's going on inside of the brain right now is those negatives, and you might even feel dumb, or like, what use is this, or this is weird, or this is, whatever it is, and that's again the brain sort of trying to combat your growth. So you say, I don't care if it's dumb, I don't care if it feels weird, I'm just doing it.
Right.
And you just do it over and over and over and then your critical thinking filter is almost like, it's like a bouncer to your brain. And you just find like, all right, I guess you're gonna be pretty persistent, fine, go.
I love that.
You know, and so then you get in the door, and that's when you start changing those things around.
You know, I can really attest to that, because as soon as I started speaking affirmations over my life, the truth about me, the truth about who I am as a person, the truth about my situation in a positive way. So like, even if I had no money, I just started speaking like, I am prosperous, I am wise, I am beautiful, I am knowledgeable, and I didn't feel like it was wrong, because I was speaking the truth about the way I knew God sees me anyway, and so it just felt right. It felt right. And then I started even adding in like, because of you, God, I am, or thank you, God, that I am, and it for me that felt right. And ever since I've been doing that consistently, whether or not it's God that we're talking to, or some other higher power that we choose to believe in, like, it's just the consistency, I think, that really started to change me, like my perception of things, the way I saw life,
Right.
all together.
So yes, and for most people, they might say, okay, they'll do it for a while and they say, oh, this doesn't sound true, or it sounds like I'm just putting hope out there and not doing anything.
Yeah.
But it's like that. Two things. So one, it's like the consistency will change the feeling and the energy around it, you know, and so that will drive action eventually. You know, it might not at first, but you be aware, start listening. At the same time, you've got to listen to your heart, and when your heart starts guiding you with inspiration, joy, idea, you go towards it.
Right.
You know, and then that idea might not work. Okay, fine, then you go towards the next thing. Each thing is meant to guide you to your destiny, to where in your path, you know, everything.
Yeah.
And so the other thing that I wanted to mention too is that it's also not just affirmation, it is also action, and that does come when you get in the energy of the positive, right? It definitely doesn't come when you're in the energy of the negative, you know? So you can say, at least I'm, you know, in the energy of the positive, thinking positively. And then that will hopefully bring forward my other action energy.
Yeah.
But also there's one thing that I sort of came up with this formula, I call it the desire to destiny formula. Which you go in and you say, okay, this is my desire. And then you find the experience, the core experience that you want from that. So when you're saying, I am prosperous, what is the core experience that you want from that? Why do you want to be prosperous?
Okay.
And so you find something now that you already are experiencing that in that way.
Okay.
So then that's where you can touch into the gratitude for already having it.
Okay.
See, because in order to manifest through thought, you have to step into the feeling of it. And that's often where the disconnect is from, oh, I'm prosperous, I don't feel prosperous, right? But you have to disconnect the way that you're wanting to be prosperous from, for example, money, and allow other ways for the prosperous to come in, like I am providing for my children, I am nurturing my children, and so I'm prosperous in all these other ways. I'm abundant in all these other ways, and then you find fulfillment in those. So you take purposeful action, and you have gratitude for being prosperous in these ways, and so you fill yourself up with the feeling of feeling prosperous from stuff that you have right now, access to it now, not this way over here later, because then once you start doing that, then it brings in more and more, because again, you're fueling the positive direction, the positive thinking, the positive action, positive energy, everything, you know, and so all of that fuels more to come to you. And when you do the opposite, when you go back, rewind to where you're like, I'm saying this thing, but I don't feel it, then you eventually will stop doing it, and then you're back to staying put and going down, or you sort of start resenting it and going down or whatever, you know. And so it's like you connect to a place where you can find the fulfillment now.
Yeah.
That's the key process to that. And then you'll start having this attitude of gratitude, you know, around all of the things that in your life where you have that.
Yeah, I wanted everything to happen quickly. I wanted to feel better quickly. I wanted to move on in my life quicker. I just wanted to get to another place quicker. And I've noticed in every situation I've been in, it had a process to get from A to B. Like, so I wanted to know, in your history of working with people and everything that, like, how do you see process connected to self-love and then others love, like loving others?
Oh.
Like, where do you see process? What does that mean to you as we wrap up? What does that mean to you?
Well, definitely, you know, one of the things that's important in the work that I do with people is that, you know, they come to me and they say, my relationship's broken, help us fix it. And I don't start by working in the relationship, because the relationship is broken because something inside of me is broken. You know, because even if the things that they're doing are horrible and the worst things, affairs, whatever, you know, like the worst. Yes, but that's their stuff, and there's also me and my stuff, and there's an energetic mirror of attraction and a magnetic thing happening that I attracted this person into my life.
Yeah.
So, and I attracted these things, and they're reflecting back to me where my wounds are, you know. And so we always have to start that process by focusing on ourselves, getting back to who we really are, and healing the wounds that we do have. And I always start there.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if you just work on the relationship, it's all surface level.
Right.
You're not going deep enough. You're not gonna. It's whatever changes that you make won't be lasting.
Right.
Because they are only lasting when you get to the core of it.
Yeah.
And I am at the core of it. And they are at the core of it.
Yeah.
You know, but that's their journey, and I can do mine. But one of the things that is really powerful about the work that I do is that, you know, you could do it with one person, with one willing person, because we also have this power of influence. And so that when I shift the way I'm being in relationship, and then they start seeing a difference in the way that I'm being, it inspires them to do the same.
Wow.
You know, and so they start stepping up. If they're coming at me lashing out and I don't get triggered by it and I give them love instead, all of a sudden they want to reciprocate that. You know, and so that's how I go about. Actually, about half of the people that come to me are one partner in a marriage that maybe the other partner's not interested in working on the relationship. Maybe, you know, they think it's therapy and they've already tried that and it doesn't work. And so they come to me and I say, okay, that's fine. We don't need them, or you know, and we can work at this on with just you. And then oftentimes, I mean, and you can see it in my testimonials and things. It's like people will say, I can't believe it. Now they want to join and do this work with me. And now, you know,
So that's the process you're talking about. And it's a commitment to that, whether or not you have the partner with you.
Yes.
So maybe a last word for our single parents, single moms in particular, because that's usually who watches this. Next, what's the first thing they could do to start their process of healing if they feel like they're still stuck in a rut or can't really seem to get their motivation up?
Well, one is to, I think, also reach out for help, you know, and that can come in various ways. It can come because when you're in the problem, it's so hard to see the bigger picture and to get out of that thinking that has you sort of tied down and locked into a single perception.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's very hard. And so it's really important, I think, to find help from a mentor or a girlfriend, you know, whatever. Find someone that is successful and ask them to share with you what their keys for success are. And that would be, you know, that would be one thing. Also,
So
you know,
don't isolate.
Absolutely, yeah.
Don't isolate.
No. As much as you might feel bad about what's going on, it's happening a lot to so many people, and you're not alone. You know, and so find the connection. Especially if you're a woman, I believe that you have to even the upper hand with that, because it's the woman that's really connected to the empathy and the emotions and the nurturing and the intuition and all of those things, we are definitely more connected to that than our male counterparts. So if we can tap into that and find sisterhood, and find that, one thing, one of my sponsors for the radio show, she works at a birth center, or she owns a birth center, and she's having something called Wind Down Wednesday, where it's just like a bunch of women that are coming together and they're just gonna have wine together, and so that's, find those communities where you can just be nurtured by other women. And I also want to add too that sometimes it's our greatest failure is when we expect our partner to fulfill us, to meet all of our expectations, to meet our needs, to make us feel a certain way, loved, wanted, validated, good enough, all of these things. And we put our worth in what they think of us, or what they show us through their words or actions. And we have to do that for ourselves.
Right.
And that's the only way that you will thrive in relationship as well, because when you're in expectation, that leads to divorce.
Yeah.
And so we have to constantly be coming back to ourselves and putting ourselves in check, and myself too. I'm still growing. Even though I do this work, there are times. No matter how much work that you do, there's always another level for you to reach into.
Yeah.
And so part of our nature here is for growth. We're here for growth. And to experience the joy around us and the happiness and the thriving. And that's part of that is to constantly say, okay, where do I now, where's my next opportunity to grow? It'll show up.
Yeah.
It always does.
Yeah.
You can count on that.
Yeah.
And so then you just address it, and you don't let it slip by and then let it show. Here's the thing is that life, source, God, whatever you want to call it, will push at you until you actually finally listen. It'll show up in this way, this small conflict.
Yeah.
You don't address it, it'll become a bigger conflict.
Yeah.
You don't address it, it'll become a trauma.
Yeah.
You don't address it, it'll become a disease. Until you say, you wake up to it and say, oh, okay, now I have to do something about this.
Yeah, and that actually reminds me of a really easy way for you to visualize this is when you hold your breath for any amount of time, the carbon dioxide that's in our body has to come out. It cannot stay in your body. So when you hold your breath and you're getting to the point where you need to breathe again, you're feeling that feeling that feeling is your body knowing that it needs to force you to breathe so that the carbon dioxide goes out. Yeah. And so that feeling that you feel in that moment is like that.
And it's always about going inward. So try not to point the finger. Try not to fix the other person.
Yeah.
Try to figure out what it is inside of me that's having this need or this desperation or this or I'm pushing against something.
Yeah.
Whenever those are the three signs. If I'm in need, if I'm in desperation, or I'm pushing against.
Yeah.
Those are the signs that you're actually bringing about more of what you don't want rather than creating what you do want. Everything about being a woman is connected to nurturing and breathing life into things. And I feel like a lot of times when people come to me, man or woman, a couple or individual, it's we could teach, these are feminine principles on how to make a relationship thrive. They're feminine things.
Yeah.
How to be a person that's successful at work are more masculine principles.
Yeah.
And so we have to acknowledge that relationship is in the feminine realm.
Yeah.
And so as women in a relationship, we have the most access.
Yeah.
And the most power to influence that realm.
Right.
If we can just take ownership for it. And one thing that I wish that I had known before that I know now is that the feminine, my feminine energy is so much more powerful than I thought it was. That I ever knew, that I ever took ownership for. And it's really because I didn't have a successful model of that. My mother was very masculine because she was always working, and then she sort of took on the father role. And so I thought that that's what I needed to do. But just letting go of that model and stepping into. We have what I call a soft power. It is very powerful, but it's more of influence. And instead of nagging, demanding, or even begging, you know, really desperation. It's influence. It's through our heart and through showing the feeling of the experience of things. So anyway, this is what the workshop is about.
And you can find the dates and locations and stuff on your website?
Yes, or you can go to my Facebook page, which is Jessica Hartley MA. That's my Facebook page.
And I will link all of this down below so that you guys have all that information at your fingertips.
Yes. And then also, you know, I also do those deep healing sessions. We do just a one session, or you know, I have packages on those as well. We do a series, and I've got programs, because what I found is that it's not enough to just say, oh, here's what it means to have a thriving relationship, or here's what it means to do the self-love. You actually have to reprogram, and all of the conditioning through that repetition, through that consistency, held in a container where you're supported, nurtured, and uplifted. And so that's what I created these programs for, is sort of to be that container that allows to create change over time. Yes. So.
All right. So this was fun.
It was amazing.
Thank you so much. That's the end of episode 1 of Tea with Ange. I really hope that this encouraged you. I hope that it lifted you up. I hope that you learned a ton from this. But yeah, so thanks for tuning in with us. I am so grateful, and thank you, Jessica, for being here with us. I'm so grateful. So that's it. You guys have a great night. Have a great day tomorrow, and we'll see you next time. Bye.